Hey, what's up guys? So in this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and we're going to walk you through, or I'm going to walk you through how to pass information from the view to a controller. So basically, this is not the ASP.NET MVC way of doing it. There is some abstraction in ASP.NET MVC between the HTML and sort of like their way of doing things. It's obviously a lot less than web forms where the HTML is just completely abstracted, but there is another way of doing this, and I'm going to show you how to do it in the next tutorial. It's sort of doing the same thing the ASP.NET MVC way. This way I'm going to show you is the more traditional way, I guess, and if you're coming from a language like PHP or some other language that's not ASP.NET MVC, you'll probably feel more comfortable doing it. So I'm just going to pass information from a form. So I'm going to create a new controller. So I'm going to go public action result, and I'm just going to call this form, and it's going to go ahead and just take a string parameter, and we're just going to call it name, and we're just basically going to say viewbag.name equals name. So this takes a parameter name and it prints it out. It's just going to print it out to the screen. You should feel familiar with this if you're from any kind of C-style language, basically having a method that takes in a parameter. And then we're going to take this information and we're going to return it to the view. So we're going to return to the view, and now we have to actually create a view for this. So we're going to add a view. Just going to call it form, and we're just going to say hello at viewbag dot name. So now we're going to go to the about controller, and this is where we're going to create our form, and it's just going to post back to the form controller. So I'm just going to make a sloppy form, and the action is going to be the home controller form, and the method, we'll just use get, doesn't really matter. Do that, and then we'll just say enter name, input type is going to equal text, and the name of it is going to equal name, and then we'll just create a submit button. So we'll do input type equals submit, and value equals submit, and the class will be button default. Now, if you're not familiar with HTML, this might seem weird to you. This is basically an input box. HTML is pretty easy to pick up if you don't already know it. It might be helpful though. And so the only thing that also, if you don't have any experience with Bootstrap, is you're like the class BTN default, and this is just a pretty well-known button class in Bootstrap, and so it's going to give us our pretty button. So when we run this, we are going to see just a regular form, actually a pretty sloppy form, but I'm going to enter my name, Robert, and I'm going to hit submit, and it's going to not find it because I forgot to put a space right there, and there we go. So what I did is because I forgot to add this forward slash behind the tilde. What happened is it already was in the views home, and then it was like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. So now when I go back, refresh it, now I post it, it'll say hello Robert. So basically all this is doing, if we go back to the controllers, we just created this action result form that takes in a string parameter and then sets name to the viewbag.name to whatever is passed in, and then we, in the about controller, we take in the user input and we just post it there. And the cool thing, if you come from a language, like I said, I keep harping on PHP, but if you come from a language like PHP, what's really cool about ASP.NET, the framework has a lot of security features built into it. So like, let's say I go back to the about page and I want to enter in some cross-site scripting. So I'm just going to do simple script, script, and I'm just going to do alert. I'm just going to say, you got XSS. Okay, so if I print that out, we're going to see here is, whoa, what happened? We got it through an error, potentially dangerous request, query.string value was detected from the client, blah, 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 blah. So it doesn't even let you do this. Now, if this was a real application, you would obviously want to handle this error a lot better than, you know, you're handling it right now. But right now, it won't let a cross-site scripting attack, you know, occur. You could even, if you're like, okay, it won't let you do that, but let's see what happens if I just want to make my text bold, you know. Let's see if that'll work. If we do that, once again, boom, it won't even let us input any kind of HTML tags or anything like that. It'll just throw an error. So obviously you'd want to handle it a little bit better than just completely crashing the application. But you know, maybe your application crashing is probably a little bit better than, you know, your users getting cross-site scripted. So anyways, so yeah, in this tutorial we went ahead and we just created a form and posted it back to it. And in another tutorial, or in the next tutorial, I'll show you the ASP.NET MVC way of doing this, which is where you're not actually writing the form yourself and declaring the action, but we're going to be doing it the ASP.NET MVC way. Both ways are good. This way actually is probably frowned upon, especially if you're a developer that only deals with ASP.NET MVC. They'll probably frown on this way, but if you come from another language and this is just what you know, it might be a little bit easier than trying to learn new HTML helper classes, although honestly they are really useful and they can save you a lot of time. So either way are valid, but this probably isn't the preferred method. But if you come from a language where you're used to stuff like this, ASP.NET MVC does it you know, provide some abstraction away from the actual, you know, building of forms and doing this with our HTML helper classes, but it's still absolutely valid. It still works the same way. Still the name is how they pass the parameters. So if we change this actually and we ran it again, it's not going to work. Also, that's another thing too that I wanted to touch on really quick is, so let's say we pass this in, doesn't pass it in because what we named the form here is not what we match up to what we named in the controller here for the parameter that it's expecting. So right now name right here has no value. So there's some abstraction. You might not know that if you just went the ASP.NET MVC way, but you know, both ways are valid and it's important to know them both. So thanks a lot for watching.